The Accountant 2. It's the sequel to The Accountant. Did you forget that there was an Accountant 1? We did. I don't remember The Accountant 1. Do you?
I remember there was one, and I remember enjoying it. And I remember thinking that I was hopefully going to enjoy this one more. But anyway.
Me, your brother. Can you be in California in 24 hours?
But just call it. How have you been? Merry Christmas. Happy birthday.
But it's not your birthday. Birthday is November 11th.
Unbelievable.
Ben Affleck in The First Accountant is established as this rather unusual superhero because he's on the spectrum and really good at taxes, but he's also a crack shot and a bunch of other sort of like action movie stapley sort of things. He has a somewhat estranged brother played by Jon Bernthal, who is not so good at taxes, but very good at shooting people and beating them up. And together they, help the downtrodden innocent guy. What happened to Anna Kendrick? Who knows? She is not mentioned at all in this movie. She seemed like she was going to be an important part of the Accountant universe, but apparently she's expendable. So is J.K. Simmons, who dies in the first 5 minutes. And they tell you this in the trailer, so it's not a spoiler. His death.
It sets the plot in motion.
Exactly. It is the instigating incident of The Accountant 2. Which, sets in motion this whole thing involving like human trafficking and stuff that only the accountant and his brother and a treasury agent played by Cynthia Addai-Robinson can crack. And this is not as fun as The Accountant. Like, The Accountant coasted on a level of absurdity, like, really? That's this, like, they cobble together such a weird, like, mad lib of things to create this character. Like, this shouldn't work, but it does somehow. But this one kind of doesn't. It feels like, despite all the wonderful eccentricities of the Ben Affleck character, the movie is super by the numbers to invade the compound and save the child and the I was forgetting it as I was watching it. It was so generic. So, there are a couple of like action pieces that pop, and there's a fun scene in a country western bar where Ben Affleck learns how to line dance by just staring at everybody for 45 seconds, and then bam, he's got it, But this movie just felt kind of listless, and it was like, I don't think we needed an Accountant 2. No. I think the best sequels have some way of either extending a story you're really interested in, or finding some kind of twist on the material, or unpacking something new about the characters. And this just kind of feels like they had to, or they could, or I don't know. It's directed by Gavin O'Connor, who, I thought he was going to be making movies like Tumbleweeds his whole career, but no, that was the outlier. Mm-hmm. But even like, didn't he do Warrior, which is not my favorite, but a lot of people swear by.
He did The First Accountant too.
He did and The First Accountant, like I said, is kind of stupidly fun, and and it helped that his controller on the phone, his minder, was played by Allison Wright from The Americans, which O'Connor had directed some episodes of, but she's gone too. She and Anna Kendrick did not get asked back. I don't know. I found this to be a lot of nothing. What about you?
I had fun for a while until I didn't.
Okay.
Right? When it's about Ben Affleck and Jon Bernthal bantering, I mean, they're kind of like two sides of the same coin, right? Like, they both have this particular set of skills, but Ben Affleck's character Chris is like very buttoned down and proper and precise.
Hospital corners,
right? And the way that manifests itself is a lot of fun, and it's a great source of like absurd humor, fish out of water humor, because he's so totally humorless. The way that he navigates the world is often very surprising to people. This is very true in the speed dating scenario at the beginning of the film.
Right. And I think if the movie had sort of stayed in that lane more, it would have been more fun. But like, you get that at the beginning, but then by the end, it's just such a generic shoot 'em up.
But then I like there's a scene where he and Jon Bernthal are sitting on the roof of the trailer that he lives in and just like giving each other a hard time and shooting the shit, and the sun is setting, and reliving old wounds and resentments, and it's funny, and there's some degree of like emotional authenticity there between these brothers because Jon Bernthal has some resentments and has some regrets and is able to express them in a way that the Ben Affleck character is not. And so that tension, that camaraderie is always a lot of fun. It's funny watching this while also finishing up Daredevil Born Again.
Right.
And seeing Jon Bernthal there as a Punisher in kind of a similar role. Like he's swaggering, he's all action, like there's no filter. He just says what he wants to say. And that can be funny and that can be scary. The first time we see him in this movie, we see what he's capable of, and the way that scene reveals itself is crafted well in terms of camera work and production design and lighting and all that. So I like the two of them together. And I did like the scene in the country bar where, you see how his mind works and how, oh yes, this thing is social, so it should be awkward, but it's also patterns and repetition, and it's math. And
I thought that's one of the better scenes, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. But then it takes this turn, like a switch gets flipped, and that tonal shift is so jarring and so awkward and so a totally different movie. It becomes, as you say, this very generic kind of shootout. But then it's even darker, like the heart of what is happening here, this mission that they're on, and what we have to see because of it is so much darker, especially now.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I just to use that as like action movie thrills felt kind of gross to me.
You can't put like the speed dating sequence and the country western sequence in the same movie as where it goes with the close call, even of where it goes with the sort of innocent victims here. It's just, this movie can't quite nail that pivot. It's like, and in a more serious minded movie, yes, you can broach those topics and you can present that stuff, but this movie doesn't have the skill to give us both. And so it just feels like they took a couple of different scripts and just sort of stapled them together.
Yeah, but I do still like Ben Affleck in this role because it's so different from what we know him for. Like if you look back from even the beginning of his career, like, Shakespeare in Love or Boiler Room or Good Will Hunting, for the movies that he has starred in, like he's all about that massive presence and that swagger and like coming into a room and just like sweeping it and changing everything. And so to see him like have to use all that craft, but like dialing it down and making it small and making it a little bit awkward and not being the most commanding guy in the room, not obviously at least.
Right.
Like that's kind of interesting as an exercise.
It is. And if you watch The First Accountant, I think you can enjoy that in a context that knows what to do with it. And in this movie, you're right. The scenes with Bernthal are fun. And there are a few moments that they sort of hit it, but it just, it doesn't, it can't throw its arms around all the things it's trying to do. And so it just feels kind of a mess.
I agree. What's your number then on The Accountant 2?
Like a 5.6.
Yeah. I'll say a 6 because I had a pretty good time until I didn't. All right. The Accountant 2 is in theaters now. Will you see it? Let us know.